So, I've played Silent Hill F for about 2 to 3 hours now, and with that, I wanted to share my first thoughts and impressions to you all. I wanted to kind of discuss where my head is at with the game currently. And of course my initial impressions can change, but for now, I thought I would share what has stuck out to me about this game. And so far, I'm extremely positive. Let me now dive into my first thoughts and opinions on Silent Hill F's story, combat, environment, and atmosphere. Today, I'm going to be looking at literally every aspect of this game. So without any further delay, let's begin. To start, I chose to play the game in Japanese with English subtitles, and I feel like this was the correct decision. Not only is this the default option when loading up the game, but it also feels most natural. While I am typically a dub watcher of anime and games from Japan, here I just don't like the dub at all. And the performance so far from Hinako's actress, Konatsu Kato, is amazing. There are so many scenes that are just full of raw emotion, and I'm happy with my choice of language. Hinako as a character I also really liked, and I do plan to cover her story in detail in future videos. The overall narrative so far has very much intrigued me, although not too much has happened that I can actually piece together, as there is a lot of moments I still don't have full context of. It has very much interested me to see what happens next. The story in parts actually reminds me a lot of Silent Hill 1, which I won't say exactly why, but it does. Now looking to the main cast of Hinako and her friends, I really like them. We don't get too many interactions between all of them so far, but they were wrote very realistically and felt like an actual group of childhood friends. Which sometimes in games, a group of friends can feel very forced, unnatural and like corporate. However, that's not the case here. A way that Silent Hill F tells its story that's unlike past entries in the franchise is through Hinako's journal. In it, Hinako will document her thoughts about the people we encounter. Here we can learn a bit about Hinako herself, her mother, her abusive father, and her older sister. Hinako will periodically update this journal as events happen in the story, along with adding new pages about her friends and even the town of Ebisugoka itself. I love this method of storytelling, and the little doodles Hinako draws are so cute. Silent Hill F also has such a unique style in its UI. From Hinako's journal, we can also see a similar aesthetic carry over to other parts of the game's menus. The map of Ebisugoka is also drawn in a similar style, and just like in Silent Hill 2 Remake, Hinako will update the map when she comes across a blocked path or an important item or location. And while I haven't got too far into the game, so far the music is incredible. Some of the main tracks that stuck out to me are amazing. They give that classic Silent Hill vibe, but also are different and very unique to this game. Every Silent Hill game soundtrack kind of reflects the story, themes and atmosphere of that particular game. And with this, Silent Hill F, it doesn't feel like it's trying to draw from any other particular game. For example, a song from this game feels like a Silent Hill F song, if that makes sense. Now enough about the story and all that. How is this game to play? Well, it's pretty good in my opinion. At first, I did have to get used to how Hinako controlled, as it can feel a little weird. For example, her walk into sprint and animations were a little janky weird feeling, but overall, she controls fine. And as for combat, now this was a big point of contention for many people, including myself, prior to launch, as people were cautious of the melee only combat with weapon durability, and also people were not happy with the hit stop on each attack. Well, after getting to fight a fair amount of enemies, I think the combat is great. It's definitely more in depth than the likes of Silent Hill 2 Remake. You have to manage your stamina well and time attacks and dodges, but the hit stop animation, in my opinion, doesn't take away from the moment to moment gameplay, as combat in itself is more slower and methodical than Silent Hill 2 Remake for example. There can be a bit of waiting around between attacks, seeing what the creature you're fighting is gonna do, which overall slows down the pace of gameplay. As for difficulty, I chose hard combat difficulty, as this is recommended for avid Silent Hill players. And so far, I found it very manageable. And as for the weapon durability, it hasn't really gotten in the way, as I've only had 2 or 3 weapons break, and you do get a new weapon every little while. But something to keep in mind is that this game does very much have you choose between fight or flight. The only benefit to killing an enemy is that they're dead and not in the area, so you often have to weigh up the pros and cons. Is it worth using your weapon durability on these enemies, or can you just run by them? And this is exactly what I want from a Silent Hill game. And prior to launch, I did say in a prior video that the combat didn't look like it had much weight or impact behind it, but I take that back, as it more so depends on the weapon you're using. Using a heavy attack from the likes of the pipe will definitely have a good amount of weight behind it, but doing a light attack with a small knife, not so much. I want to also mention the enemies I fought, and they are so messed up in that Silent Hill way. I've only faced 2 different kinds of enemies so far, but both are very disturbing looking, and very hostile in their attacks. This game overall is very relentless and I like that a lot, and I can't wait to see even more enemies. Now while exploring the town of Ebisugoka and facing these nightmarish monsters, something stuck out to me. The location itself is just so fun to explore. Seriously, this is the most unique setting a Silent Hill game has explored in a very long time. Ebisugoka doesn't just feel like your standard town with a Japanese aesthetic thrown over it. The actual environments are all very uniquely made. Walking down the dark back alleys, squeezing through little gaps in the wall, and exploring some old townhouses are so fun. Truly, this game feels just so unique compared to like everything else in the franchise. And outside of its vibes and atmosphere, exploring in Silent Hill F is also unlike prior games, because it rewards exploration off the beaten path. I found upgrades to my inventory, items and weapons, notes, and even a radio message, all because I explored off the main path. And this game often incentivizes exploring old locations you previously couldn't explore. Ebisugoka feels a little more open. Now, it's not open world or anything like that, but it's definitely more explorable than any location in any past Silent Hill game. And also, I will say this, yeah, this game has some good scares. Certain moments in this game absolutely got me bad. It was like 2:30 in the morning and I got grabbed by this one enemy out of nowhere and I screamed so loud. And outside of big scares like that, the game does a great job of sucking you in and using its location to scare the player. Subtle noises and such like that. And now this kind of goes with the openness of the game I was talking about earlier. The village of Ebisugoka felt so hostile. I rarely had a safe area where I could calm myself and collect my thoughts. The sounds of enemies roaming around always had me on edge. And exploring those dark back alleys and houses always had me scared out of my mind. I want to also give a mention to the Otherworld section, which so far is incredibly different from how it looked in prior games. And it's very unique, of course, to this game. You can see its references to Japanese culture here, but I mean, this just does wonders for the game's overall identity with having such a different Otherworld. As any good survival horror game should go, there are some very interesting puzzles in the early hours of Silent Hill F. Two main ones in particular, and for this playthrough, I also chose hard puzzle difficulty as that's recommended for Silent Hill veterans, and I'm glad I did. It's been quite a while since I've played a brand new survival horror game with some good puzzles, and the two I faced so far has made me really have to stop and use my brain, examining each word and line of the riddles I was given to see if anything sticks out in particular. In this puzzle, for example, I started to examine each object closely, looking for any symbols or anything related to those pedestals. And in this puzzle here, I found 3 words that stuck out to me and then looked for the corresponding signs. And it gave me such a satisfaction figuring out the solution. And I really hope there is more in store in this regard. Along with the exploration, I also found a lot of notes that have really done a great job in building up the character of Ebisugoka. Learning more and more about the village and its people has been very interesting. Now, for some quick final thoughts, the game is great, it runs great, although when I set it to performance mode on PS5, the resolution can be a little lower quality than I would like. And while I'm certainly not playing the game on quality mode with 30 FPS, Silent Hill F is very much shaping up to be an amazing Silent Hill game. And these were just some of my very first few thoughts and opinions, so let me know down below if you've started playing the game via early access, are you waiting for the true launch on the 25th, or even a sale, and if you have been playing the game and enjoying it, let me know down below what you think so far. Spoiler free, of course. And with that, folks, I'm going to wrap this short video up as I'm just dying to get back into this game. So I want to thank you so very much for watching this video, and a little side note, I want to make sure you stick around as I have plenty more to cover with Silent Hill F. Anyways, I'll see you on my next one. Peace.